Chapter 1, Tablet 2, The Beginning. Lo, in the very beginning was the Word. Existence was this Word. Creation came after. Nothing would exist if Anu Eliun El didn't create it. In order for Anu to create, he must have existed. If the Christians say that God is the creator of all things, or the Hebrews say that Yahweh is the creator of all things, or the Muslims say that Allah created everything, then Yahweh, Allah, or God must have existed. So there's existence before creation. Nothing was created except by way of Allahu Akbar. He, Allah, who originally was known as Anu, and An, was, and is, and will be the intellect. Intellect, intellectual, lect, lecture, the speaker of the word that exists in the beginning, or simply where things began, from hydrogen on through the elements. Overstanding these points, where things sum up to something, and existence predates creation, as darkness predates light, as ether before the lightest hydrogen is weighed to have a sun, and from ether on into triple darkness. The root of all thinking, that is, 1. The state of quarks, the first degree of darkness, first degree of nothingness. 2. Biaps, the second degree of darkness. And 3. Zels, the third degree of darkness. The weight or the sum of things or of a thing, pre-weight, nothingness, yet it exists. Knowing these truths is called right knowledge, right wisdom, and right overstanding. He was not always the green solar light, but created himself into a green light to be witnessed of his creation as El Elah. El Rab, sustainer of glory, illuminating the green light of Mikael from himself to rule Malakut. So the green essence of presence was necessary for identity, and that identity was ruler, El Maluk, which is the third point in existence, and the third attribute of Allah. El Ramun, El Rahumul, El Maluk, Mikael Murdoch, being the highest of all the rabbits of the Anunnaki, the Elohim of the crystal essence, which is the splendor of beauty. Light is a manifestation of energy, detectable, not speculated, but calculated. So Anu manifested himself in the unformed, informed, to be detectable and logged in what's called time and space. And that energy began as a light, a color in light, which is the presence of a sun. And the color green is growth, as in life through herbs, vegetation, and trees of the land, and algae of the seas. The color green is conceived between the blue seas, water, and the color yellow, sun, rays, the fourth color of the prism, the fourth point in growth or creation, the mental plane. The crystal essence became divided into two parts. One was extremely pure and luminous. However, the other appeared to be, to the vision of the intellect, to be inferior to the first. The first was called light, the pure green light, the light of the Anunnaki, Seraphat, Seraphim, those agreeable beings, growth. And the second was called fire, the impure amber light, the light of the Anunnaki Garubat, cherubim, those disagreeable beings, destruction or consumption. Of the first, that is to come, are the noble and superior individuals, the souls of El Nabiyat, the news bearers, El Razulat, the apostles, El Masah, El Hadui, El Mujadid, and the people of the right hand, All agreeable things are created from the green light of the benevolent beings. Concealed, the Anunnaki Yahwehans called simply Yah, Sarufat, and did manifest green. But in time, as the iron replaced the magnesium molecule in the blood, the pure melanin was lost. Thus from green to rust, your color did become. Of the second, the fire, was created, the male violent beings, revealed, the Illuminati, which are the jinns, genie, the disagreeable Anunnaki, the disagreeable Yahwehans, called simply Weh, who are the Garubat, a race of disagreeable Anunnaki, who were created before Cadman, Zakar. These are followers of Tarnush, or Shakar, the Luciferians. 1/3 of these beings from Ilium were cast from their home in the 19th galaxy, Ilium, where the Akasha records of all agreeable acts are kept, as opposed to Sajin, where the Azirat records of all disagreeable acts are kept, to make a new home in the Orion star constellation. The disagreeable ones made their home in Beltagiz, Ragil, and Bellatrix. The cycles. The first cycle was a dot in the universe. Then the dot became a line. The line became a wall. The wall became a square. The first dot split like a daughter cell into two. The second dot formed a circle by completing one cycle around to itself. None knows, save itself, where the circle begins and ends. Then it began to spin, to form an orb, and thus 360 degrees of square and 360 degrees of circle. The circle was turned inside out and placed within the confines of the square. This was accomplished by first dividing the circle into 4 parts. Geometry was created, and dimensions were formed. Geo equal key, and metri equal measure. The square that you know on this plane is not the same as its counterpart on the spiritual plane and the plane of force. These planes are not perceived by the ordinary human eye. The energy was confined in the square, tried to escape. It pushed upward, outward, and downward. This constant friction generated heat to the degree that the square could no longer withstand. An explosion of enormous force occurred. This event had not yet been manifested on the physical plane as the birth of the universe. The formation of stars, galaxies, and planets on the physical side. When energy beings manifest, atoms, they make up atoms, which then become compounds and elements, as opposed to physical beings, atoms, who manifest and make up cells, which become organisms and bodies. When the Anunnaki, Elohim of the 360 degrees, split into 2 beings of 180 degrees each, meaning the disagreeable is on the outside. If the male child is agreeable, the female twin counterpart is disagreeable. If the female is agreeable, the male twin or counterpart is disagreeable. The one must conquer the other to become agreeable or to become a child of light, imperfection that was clicked on in the darkness of perfection. In this way was the disagreeable being created, calling them twins. Every person born was a twin. One defeated the other, and that is how each of you were born. This is called the concept of survival, of the fittest. The concept of survival of the fittest begins from the very moment sperm is ejaculated into the vaginal canal. Each of the 777,777,777 sperm cells are ejaculated and races to the ovum or egg of the female to fertilize it. and only one of the 777,777,777 sperm cells survives the journey, beating out all the other sperm cells in a normal birth. Normally, conception occurs when one egg releases from a woman's ovaries is fertilized by one male sperm. 7 out of 10 pairs of twins result from the woman releasing 2 eggs, which are then fertilized quite independently by 2 sperms, fraternal twins. Usually, the 2 eggs then implant and develop separately in the uterus. Less commonly, 1 egg fertilized by 1 sperm divides, resulting in 2 developing babies with the same inherited characteristics, identical twins. Often this division occurs after implantation in the uterus. Monozygotic, from the word mono, from the Middle English, from Old French, from Latin, from Greek, from monos, meaning single, alone, and zygote, meaning yolk, which is derived from a single fertilized ovum or embryonic cell mass. This usually happens with identical twins, in which it occurs after fertilization, and often after implantation in the uterus. As a result, twins almost always share a placenta, although each has its own cord and bag of water. Fraternal births are dizygotic, meaning have 2 zygotes. Di equal 2, zygote, which is a cell formed by the union of 2 gametes, especially a fertilized ovum before cleavage. From Greek, zygotos, yoked, from zygon, meaning to yoke, deriving from 2 separately fertilized eggs. There are also polyzygotic fraternal twins, from the word poly, Greek, polou, from polus, meaning much, many, and again zygotic, from zygote, which are births that are caused by fertility drugs. They arise from 2 or more fertilized eggs and may be from either sex. Fraternal twins have separate water bags and cords, and separate placentas as well. Occasionally, the 2 eggs implant close together in the uterus, so that the placentas become fused, and it looks as though the twins are sharing the same one. So each time an agreeable Anunnaki was born, whether male or female, his or her twin was to be disagreeable. The creation of the Luciferian order, or jinn, genie, was the end of the first cycle. The beginning of the second cycle was a half diameter of 7,000 years, in which you have what you call the angelic beings, be they agreeable Sarufat or disagreeable Garubat. They, the race of the Natas, were cast down from the 4th plane, the mental plane, and made to dwell on the 2nd plane, the plane of force, before their physical form. El Elo, the source, gave them rule and comfort until the end of the 2nd cycle, or the 14,000th year after their creation. At the beginning of the 3rd cycle, which took 7,000 years, you have the disagreeable way, Garubat, and the agreeable Yah, Sarufat, both of who, which are called the Yahwehans or Jehovahans, and you also have the process of the Adamites, of the 14th generation, before the completion of the Adam project, in the laboratory in Sidonia, called Shimti, the Lamu Mars project, or the Sphinx project. This genetic breeding and splicing, chromosomes tampering, is that, which gave birth to Cadmon, called also Zakar, and even Adam. These Yahwehan or Jehovahans were both personifying into the physical form to come to the planet Earth as of physical beings, for there was no place found any more for them in the fourth plane, the heavens. For when the Wayans heard the news of the creation of the Adama project and the prototype that was laid before them, they created much war and mischief in the heavens. This war is recorded in the scriptures, Revelation 12th degree, 7th verse, as, "And there was war in heaven. Marduk and his Saraphat fought against the Drago, Halal, and his Garobat. And the Saraphat did win, so there was no place found there any more in Orion for them. And the great Drago, who was Halal, son of Shakar, was cast out, that old reptilian called the devil and the serpent, which deceives the whole planet Earth. He was cast out into the earth, and his Garubat did personify with him. After that, the Natas began to do disagreeable acts and disobey El Elo, the head Yahweh, the most high deity of all the deities, the source, and he condemned them. Natas, also called Lucifer, was an extra being on Terra, or what you refer to as extra Terra astral, or extraterrestrial. The Luciferian order came out of a group of extraterrestrial beings called the Yahwehs, sometimes called the Jehovahs. The Luciferians would interfere with the beings on this planet called Earth and pass themselves off as gods. The Luciferians, after taking their independence, were allowed to work with the Yahwehans together at one time to conquer certain portions of this planet. But one such Luciferian, named Halal, son of Natas or Shakar, wanted to rule all the stars of the heaven, meaning all the Yahwehs. Leviathan, the serpent people, one of the reptilian seed, or the Luciferians, have been trying to gain control over this planet for many thousands of Earth years. They are called the sex spirit force, also called Porne. They are able to seduce and deceive all those with desires on earth, turning lust to luster, thereby attracting and controlling all with it. As Nakiba was seduced by the Leviathan power of lust, it is the death of divinity and the birth of mortality. That's why the Intergalactic Confederation quarantined the planet. If enough entities were looking for freedom from the control of the Luciferians, the Intergalactic Confederation will remove these forces from the earth. Yet, humans love to lust and lust to love, expressing energy in motion, overexerting their emotions, bringing about their spiritual death. There is a group called the Satanists, who are not the same as the Luciferians. Their other names are the Divines, or Nakashites, or Kanas. These Satanists are more sadistic than the Luciferians, whose leader was Lucifer, also called Natas, which is simply Satan, spelled backwards. They are also called Shayatiyanihim. They have supplanted themselves in every facet of life that you can think of, and now they have you naming yourself after them. These Satanists seek mind control and dominance, while the Luciferians seek to control the energies of others. They are best described as vampires who draw energy from others, also called Dracula, Dragos, or serpent dragons, called Leviathan. These Luciferians are from a planet called Meldek, the 11th planet. This planet called Earth even has Luciferians as Yahwehans, and some of them are disagreeable Allahum. They don't usually work together. However, they will come together if there is a common interest. The Yahwehians are the original 24 elders. There were 12 ex-Luciferians, the dissatisfied. The other 12 were agreeable to near. That's why you have 12 satisfied and 12 dissatisfied. Shakar, who is also called Humbaba or Zuwin, and Tarnush, subjected all of them, the Jehovahans, also called Luciferians, to the chastisement of external damnation, except for the weak ones of the family of Elohim. These he has pardoned, and has appointed one of them, Halashish, to be their governor, and he granted them a new law called religion. It was other than Nuwapu, sound right reasoning. When the cycle elapsed, the wicked sons of Shakar, or Tarnush, blasphemed, and committed disagreeable acts because their nature was intended to recalcitrant or to show defiance. And Nu, Eliun El, the Most High, sent Murdoch, the son of Enki and Damkina, who is called Mikael, and the agreeable beings to admonish them and advise them. However, it was in vain. Murdoch was sent because he knew their nature, having been the disagreeable twin to his sister Balat, who was agreeable. So, in the beginning of the fourth cycle of 7,000 years, you have Serufat, Garubat, and humans, later called humans, be they agreeable or disagreeable. You see, the cycle is broken up into fours. When these disagreeable beings were cast out, 1/3 of them were cast out from the 19th galaxy, Iliun, with Tarnush. Now, you have the sun, and you have the 10 planets. Planets speed up when they get closer to the sun. The ancient Greeks called certain points of light in the skies the planetia, or planet, a word that means wandering star, and named them after their gods, Hermes, Aphrodite, Ares, Zeus, Chronos. Instead of using the names of the Greek gods, these planets are now called by the names of the equivalent Roman gods, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Planets shine by reflected light. The planets in your solar system are captives of your largest star, the sun. Like the planets, the Earth gives off no light of its own. When a planet shines brightly during the shadow hour, it is reflecting the sun's light. These 10 planets are Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Titan, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, which are your calculations of the planets. However, you shall know the truth. Now let me continue. You have the sun and the planets Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Earth is the 3rd planet from the sun, which is 93 million miles away, and the 93rd attribute of Allah is El Nur, meaning the light. He is called the light of the heaven and the earth, which is the sun, the true light of the heaven and the earth, simply Ra, or Re, said Re as in sun's rays. The sun is the light, the 93rd attribute, and the number 93 million miles is the distance, and this is no coincidence. The sun is the bright morning star, which the planet Venus is also known as. Venus is also referred to as a star on account of its dense atmosphere of carbon dioxide, which reflects solar radiation and causes a very bright visual effect. The circumference of the planet Earth, which is the circle around it, is 24,896 miles. That varies because, as you know, your planet expands and contracts seasonally. There's a universal equinox and an earthly equinox. Equinox simply being when the length of the day and shadow hour are equal, coming from Latin. Aquinonectum. Night. The planet Earth goes around the sun, called solar, from the Latin words sol, meaning sun, and ar, from the Hittite deity Arena, goddess of the sun, which is the center of this solar system in 365 Earth days. This varies because the hours in a day are not really 24, but rather 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 6 seconds. You would calculate that as one day, when in reality it varies. The moon moves around the planet 354 Earth days. Again, the moon cycle varies, and you call that one lunar year. So now you have this motion of the moon around the planet and your planet around the sun. You have this whole galaxy or solar system, central solar, with systematic bodies moving around it. It moves around a larger mass every 24,000 years. Of course, that varies in an equinox. And you have the precession of the equator needle. It spins one complete circle every 26,000 years on its axis. Precession is the motion of the axis of a spinning body, such as the wobble of a spinning top, when there is an external force acting on the axis. It's a slow gyration of Earth's axis around the pole of the ecliptic, caused mainly by the gravitational pull of the sun, moon, and other planets on Earth's equatorial bulge. From the Latin praecasus, precession, from Latin praecessus, past participle of procedere, meaning to go before. Your equinox varies from 24,000 to 24,896 years. The planet called Earth positioned itself in the location of the revolution of Earth in the year 1970 AD, which was the end of the third cycle as you know it. The end of the moon cycle of water and the birth of the sun cycle of ether, which was also the beginning of this writing, which was sent to renew your Earth story. Make note that there is no such word as their story, only history, his story, which he says of us, and mystery, my story, which we say of us. When the Euro-American is making reference to the story of the original woolly-haired beings, Moors, they refer to it as history, meaning his story. And when making reference to their story, it's called a mystery, my story, because they really don't have a beginning in the origin of things. Be not arrogant of our knowledge. Take counsel with the ignorant as well with the wise. For the limits of knowledge in any field has never been set, and no one has ever reached them. Wisdom is rarer than emeralds, and yet they are found amongst the women who gather at the grindstone. Be diligent as long as you live, always doing more than is commanded of you. Do not misuse your time while following your heart, for it is offensive to the soul to waste one's time. As you can see, the Rise-Riskians, the Anunnaki, have made land to equal 1 mile per year, and the circumference of the planet Earth is 24,896 miles. It takes 24,896 years for that cycle to take place. The wise round the figure off into 4 cycles of 6,000 years, which you call one equinox, an age. The other years are in constant speed and movement of the planet, making it right and exact. They, the elders, have made land 1 mile to equal each year, of which time is to renew our history or our story. What happens is we have 4 cycles of 6,000 years in this cycle, called an equinox. 24,000 thus, you will see the single cycle is gone. And now we're into the quad cycle. Overstand that. Then we have an epoch of 50,000 years. By that, I mean the quad cycle, which is this, assuming your sun and your planet is moving, it doesn't move perfectly around. It moves in an egg-shaped motion, an oval. It is broken up into points 1, 2, 3, and 4. There are 2 points where the planet is far away from the sun, called solstices, which mark the 2 times when the sun is seen during the day, and longest and the shortest times of the year, with Sol relating to the sun. Thus you have 4 seasons, winter, spring, summer, and fall, called the seasons, sea, suns, the child of the sea, who lived here before Adam's creation. They lived beneath the sea, called the deep, and watched the Elohim create and make that which was good, all determined by the waters. Thus you have sea sons, sons of the sea, humans, also a sea people, living in atmosphere of air, which is water. First, from the water of semen, sea men, to the sac of the womb, to the atmosphere of air, which is water, and the human body, which is 3/4 water, the 4 sons of water. Now, that is just the planet and its motion around the sun. But note, when we take your solar system and cause it to revolve around a larger mass, the universe, there are also 4 periods. The furthest period from the sun are called silver periods, or the silver ages. That is the moon cycle. You have 2 silver or moon cycles. Because of the magnetic pull that the sun has, the Earth's ecliptic motion speeds up and slows down and is ecliptic, or the great annual path of the sun as seen from the Earth. Your planet is not going around and around at the same speed as you may think. You will see that each one of these periods, because of the number 24, has been divided into 4 6,000-year cycles. The first 6,000-year period was from the first silver moon cycle, which was the first cycle that the Earth was farthest away from the sun, to the first gold sun cycle, which was the first cycle that the Earth was closest to the sun. The second 6,000-year period was from the first gold sun to the second silver moon. The third 6,000-year period is from the second silver moon to the second gold sun. And the fourth and final 6,000-year period is going to be from the second gold sun back to the beginning, the very first silver moon. From light back to the pure supreme balancement of darkness. In the 4th cycle, the Luciferians race made war upon the Anunnaki of the pure green light. The Anunnaki Elohim triumphed over the race of Jinn, as Anu had done over his brother, Alelu, who descended to the 7th, the blue planet, inward, then called Tiamat, and after his defeat, Anu ascended unto the throne of Nibiru. Murdoch captured one of the Jinn, who was under the age of maturity, named Balas, Iblis, meaning despaired or rebellious one. His other name was Lucifer, being the liberated Luciferian. Balus was educated among the Anunnaki, and he improved by degrees, so much that he was honored and made a teacher of the Anunnaki. You must remember that Lucifer, being one of the most rare Luciferians, was almost all in all polarized, meaning he had 2 conflicting natures, being part Anunnaki and part reptilian. Lucifer was a product of a mixed marriage, being the son of the 2 beings. The reptilian Tarnush raped the Anunnaki Melita, which made Lucifer part reptilian and part Anunnaki. This is why he was called the serpent and spoke beside the tree in the enclosed Garden of Delight, located in what is called Bali today. Thus, there were beings who appeared to have a compromising attitude or personality, yet it was Lucifer who appeared to be headstrong and have a disagreeable nature and an uncompromising attitude or personality. However, from his loins came Jabarians, also called Gibberim, the majestic, mighty ones. The strength of the Luciferians made them able to better deceive the seed of Adam by their physical human-like appearance. He, Balus, aspired to become the guiding light, the ruler, the sultan of all the stars of the heaven, the prince of the Garub, cherub, in his heart. He sought the very throne of Anu, reign over a court of a great splendor. He was a place with an artificial garden sculpted with semi-precious stones. There, Anu resided with his wife and half-sister, Atum, and 6 concubines, 80 children, of which 14 were by Atum, 1 prime minister, 3 commanders in charge of the Mu rocket ships, 2 commanders of the weapons, 2 great masters of written knowledge, 1 minister of the purse, 2 chief justice, 2 chief scribes, and 5 assistant scribes, all of which Balus wanted to rule. Balus was called Samel, in short, with the vapor of self-complacency and conceit, which is the real nature of Balus. Next, he wanted to scale the skies to try to control and rule all the stars, Yahwehans, the angelic host of the heavens. Very often he would incite unnecessary arguments, pretending about his excellence by means of deceitful illusions and diabolical stratagems. Once, some of the company of the agreeable Anunnaki were going to have a look at the preserved tablets, the holiest of holy scriptures, upon which contained the record of the past and the future, called the Munir, illuminated records, or the Akasha records. On their return, Balus perceived marks of grief on their forehead and asked them for the cause of the grief. They replied, "This day we have obtained information from the tablets that one of the Anunnaki, Garubat, cherubim, those who are near, the companions of Mikael, meaning who dares to be like El, of the mansion of the eternal, shall soon be afflicted with rejection and everlasting damnation. Everyone is afraid for his own sake, and we request you to pray that the guardian Anunnaki may allow none of us to fall into this misfortune. We are very much terrified and dismayed." Then Balus answered them, saying, "Let not this even disturb you, for that judgment refers neither to you nor to me. I have years ago been aware of it, and have not communicated it to anyone." The pride and arrogance of Balus did not allow him to weigh the words of the Anunnaki. At that time, the blessed proclamation reached the hearing of the inhabitants. The echo of the success of Captain Sakar reached their ears. On hearing the news, their depression was ejaculated from them, and that permitted their being from the kindled anger of the unhallowed, disagreeable doer, Balus. He spoke, saying, "How can mortals, created of dust, claim to be a being of superiority, and I am created before him, of fire from the previous sun cycle?" So the Anunnaki, having guessed the events to come from the sons of Tarnush, said to El-Elo, "Will you make a mischief maker in it, one who shall shed blood?" This was repeated by the Kuthites on the planet Earth. By the command of Anu, El-Elo, by Murdoch, son of Enki and Damkina, and grandson of Anu, who would descend to the 4th plane, advised and warned the race of Natas, who had gone astray from the straight path. This took place before the physical war was waged with them. It was a mental war. The agreeable Anunnaki were victorious. This, however, would not be the last time that the forces of benevolence, agreeable and disagreeable, malevolent, would do battle.